Welcome to Sports Talk with the Cowboy.
Welcome and thanks for riding with the Cowboy. Successful win over the Cincinnati Bengals 17-14 in the first preseason game Saturday night up in Cincinnati. It was a good game. We've seen a lot of the rookies. Some of the starters didn't start, some did. It was a good game. We had no real serious injuries. We scored 2 touchdowns and a field goal in a good competitive game. It was a good game for Liam Combs' offense to get out there and showcase some of the things they're going to do. Certainly not all the things. They're never going to show you what they're really going to do in regular season, but a certain amount of the formations that they will probably use during regular season. It was a good first preseason game. The second preseason game will be Saturday night with the Buccaneers up in Duval County against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the last preseason game of this preseason will be against the Dolphins the following week. So basically the first 2 games will be away, Cincinnati and Jacksonville, and the home game will be against Miami, the last preseason game of the year. Then we'll get about a 2-week break before regular season. So basically what's happening this week is the Jaguars and the Bucs. Probably going to see maybe Baker Mayfield for a series or 2. Maybe a receiver in the starting rotation goes in for a couple plays. Don't expect to see him very long. The starter for Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, was out most of last year, came in and played 1 series, went down, scored a touchdown, went out. So basically that's what you're probably going to see this week, possibly with Baker Mayfield. But mostly it's going to be Kyle Trask, John Wolford. Same show you seen last week, same players mostly that you seen last week, with some of the starters going in and out for a couple plays and a couple formations. And that's basically what's going on in preseason. Has not been any major injuries in preseason except J.J. McCarthy, the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings, hurt his knee, and he was a projected starter. But they have Sam Darnold that will be starting for the Minnesota Vikings. So other than that, there's not been any real major injury on any preseason game this year as far as any great showcase starter of last year's team being injured in the games last week. And that's probably how they like it, and that's why everybody likes it, so nobody really gets injured in this preseason. But basically, that's what's going on with the Buccaneers. No real movement as far as players are concerned or any players being cut or anything at this point. After this game, there'll be some cut, but for now, same players that started, same players. It was last week, same players this week. That's what's going on with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we hope that they can come out of this game with a win, but if they don't get one, it don't count. But the bottom line is nobody getting injured, and we can see some of these players get into some reps so that the possibility of them going into the regular season, they'll have a little time on the field. That's all we got tonight with the Buccaneers of Tampa Bay. Now we're moving on to the Tampa Bay Rays. They were beaten last night again by the Houston Astros. The Astros come in for a couple game sets. The last game of the 3-game series will be tonight. They've lost the first 2. They brung Junior Cantanero up from the Durham. Now he's a third baseman, supposed to bring a little bit of a bat to himself into the big leagues. He played about 7 games last year, and they sent him down to Durham again. This year he hasn't been up, but he came up last night. He's going to stay with the team to the end of the season. That'll give him a little bit of assimilation into the big leagues and let him play a lot of time on the field and kind of get used to being a big leaguer on a full-time manner. He hit 1 ball and struck out 3 times, so he batted .250 last night. Didn't add too much to the runs. The Tampa Bay Rays have no offense whatsoever. Most of their hitters are 200 or less. They're just a terrible offensive team all the way across the board. They came into the season with a terrible offensive team. They went to the trade deadline, an awful offensive team. After the trade deadline, they're an awful offensive team. And even with the addition of their so-called superstar prospect, they're still a poor offensive team. So they're a game below 500, about 6 games out of the wild card race. Is it mathematically possible that they could catch a wild card team? Yes, it is. Will they? Who knows? It doesn't look good. They win 1, they lose 2, they lose 2, they win 1. You know the drill. They're about 500. That's about where they've been all year. And they're going to have to be better than that if they make the playoffs. That's about all with the Rays so far this week. We'll keep an eye on them tonight, see what they could possibly do. The Tampa Bay Lightning, Jeffrey Vinnick, the owner, is planning to sell the Tampa Bay Lightning to a group called the Blue Owl Group out of Canada. He's supposed to possibly be selling that team for $2 billion. The Lightning, of course, will stay in Tampa, but he's supposed to be operating on a daily basis, the team, This is only what we've heard through sports channels. Nothing's been up in front of their cameras with himself, but have a lot of major media outlets saying that the sale is being taken place. And he will sell some of his stock. Now, what the number of the stock is, I do not know, of the team to this group. But he will remain in charge of the day-to-day operations, is what has been said. Of course, nothing's factual. But we have a lot of different sources that are coming in on this from a lot of different directions. So it's probably a little bit, as they say, where there's smoke, there's fire. There probably will be. We'll keep you posted on the Tampa Bay Lightning ownership change with this Blue Owl group out of Canada, if it does take place. As far as NASCAR racing this week, we had a very tremendous race at Richmond. We had Austin Dillon running into the back of Joey Logano on the last lap, and then clipping Denny Hamlin into the wall to get the victory at Richmond. Sunday night was a great race until the last lap. There's a lot of wrecks, but that's what NASCAR lets them do. So, and they put him in the position they have to get in the playoffs by a win, and this guy had his opportunity, and he took it. Even though he didn't just gang up beside Logano, he just come right behind him and just run him into the wall. And Hamlin tried to sneak by him, and he clipped him and put him into the wall. So it was, the last half a lap was quite a thing, and I'm sure you've all seen it on the sports. So this week they're headed to Michigan. The NASCAR is, and as far as the PGA is concerned, I think they're getting ready to start their playoff rounds. But so don't quote me on that, because I know that they're just coming out of the Olympic break. The Olympics are over, as we know, in 2028. They'll be in Los Angeles. United States won the majority of medals. Second place was Canada. In the medal count, as far as overall medals, gold, silver, and bronze. So that's where we stood at the Olympics. Tom Cruise jumped off a rappella off the Eiffel Tower down to the ground and grabbed the 2028 LA flag, and they went off towards Los Angeles with it. So that's the end of the 2024 Olympics in Paris. It's over with. And now we're going to resume the racing as we did Sunday night after the Olympics was over at 5:55 at 6 p.m. NASCAR had their race. So they waited till the Olympics was over. As far as the PGA, like I say, they're a little bit more disoriented, and they're going back on the tour. I'll get you up to where they are as far as, I know that they're going into the playoffs. Their big majors are done for the year. And I'll let you know where that first major is going to be at. It might be the John Deere, but I don't take that for fact, because I don't know for sure if it's a John Deere. We'll keep you posted on the PGA. As far as the questions tonight, the first one's from Beverly, and Beverly wanted to know what I thought of Kyle Trask and John Warford the other night. Beverly, they played pretty well. Nothing extraordinary, but nothing bad. They looked to know the offense. They called the signals. They got out of the huddle. They got the players where they're supposed to got, and they made positive yards. I thought both of them played almost identical. You know, they were different people and different number. They operated pretty fairly good on a small offense. That is what you're going to have in preseason. You're not going to show all your cards. You're just going to try to show some of the different situations, and they did real well, Beverly. I was very pleased with both of them, and that's going to be your second, third string quarterback, regardless of which one you put on the depth chart, number 2. Which one you put on number 3, them are going to be your 3 quarterbacks unless somebody, God forbid, gets injured. Thank you for your question, Beverly. And the next question is from Albert. And Albert wanted to know about that sale of the Tampa Bay Lightning. And Albert, I don't know any more than I just told you that the Blue Owl Group out of Canada is trying to buy into the Tampa Bay Lightning, a majority or somewhat of their stock. And I don't know, Albert, exactly what. And we haven't got any official word. But I would figure, Albert, in the next 48 to 72 hours, we'll get a lot more understanding of what it is and what exactly it's going to be. But the underlying thing, Albert, is Michael Vinnick, the present owner of the team, will still be in control of actual day-to-day operations. And, you know, as long as these other guys have just got money on paper somewhere and they're not involved in everyday operations, that pretty much tells you it'll be about the same. So that's what I'm thinking, Albert, anyhow. But we'll keep you posted, Albert, on what we do find out on the Lightning. And the last question is from Leah, and Leah wanted to know about the Rays. Did I think they had a chance to win a wild card? Not really, Leah. I don't think they're going to win a wild card this year. I just don't think they have a good enough team. They didn't have a good enough team in spring. They didn't have a good enough team at the start of this season. They don't have a good enough team at the start, at the trade deadline, after the trade deadline. They don't have a good enough team to win a wild card spot in my estimation. And if they do, they'll lose in the first round, I would think. They have no offense. They just don't have one. They score 1 or 2 runs. The pitchers go out there and do a real good job, keep the other team to a low-scoring number, but if they get 1 point or 2 points or even 3, well, they're probably going to win. If they get 5, which a lot of them have gotten, and the poor Rays are down 5-0 in the third inning, they might as well be down 15 because they ain't never going to make any points. Not enough to catch them. They just don't have a good enough offense. They don't have 2 and 3 and 4 hitters. They don't have anybody consistent. They don't have anybody spectacular. And they have what they have. So you're really going down there watching a team that's even publicly saying they're looking forward to the next year. So when the team tells you they're looking forward to next year, and they're bringing up prospects to let them play this year so that they look forward to next year, they're pretty much telling you they lost. They're not going to make it. That's what they're pretty much telling you, Leah. That's as far as I know. As far as the sports talk with the Cowboy pool, we're going to get that up. As you know, we're trying to get ready for regular season. And as far as the college, me and DGX are talking about them being in the playoffs. The teams that are in the college playoffs, that those teams, out of the 106 teams there are in college football, those 12 teams that get to the playoffs will have a pool when they get to the 12. Because that way nobody's left out. There's 106 teams. But that's a long way off. We'll get to you then. Until next week, do good to your neighbor. Treat your neighbor like you'd like to be treated. Until next show, God bless you. Cowboy out.